We live in a land, you and I, where a great measure of freedom is denied to the great majority of the people, simply by virtue of the color of the skin. It's the great divide, and we are quite blatant about it. We are governed by laws which more and more divide us, deny the basic rights to the majority of our people, the right to move freely, the right to sell your labor freely, the right to equality with your neighbor, no matter what his color or race. And in order to, excuse me for coughing, in order to entrench this division, this difference, more and more laws are passed to suppress any move to oppose them, no matter by whom.
On behalf of the 1982 Academic Freedom Committee, I welcome you all here tonight, and most especially our guest speaker, Helen Joseph. In 1959, the nationalist government passed the Extensions and Consolidation of Universities Education Act. This act is such a violation of democracy that people everywhere cannot but condemn it. This lecture is the 16th annual address held to honour Richard Feetham, Chancellor of this university between 1949 and 1961. He was a staunch defender of the principle of academic freedom. Lloyd Vogelman, chairperson of the Academic Freedom Committee, will shortly read the dedication and discuss the concept of academic freedom within the university. Lloyd will then formally introduce Helen Joseph. In conclusion, the audience shall rise to sing the anthem. The invitation to lecture on this platform cannot be received casually, and we sincerely appreciate and are honoured in having Helen Joseph deliver this prestigious address. It must be mentioned that
we are gathered here today to affirm in the name of the University of the Witwatersrand that it is our duty to uphold the principle that a university is a place where men and women, without regard to race and colour, are welcome to join in the acquisition and advancement of knowledge, and to continue faithfully to defend this ideal against all who have sought by legislative enactment to curtail the autonomy of the university. Now therefore, we dedicate ourselves to the maintenance of this ideal and to the restoration of the autonomy of our university. Related to this are two other great beliefs. Firstly, the belief in the university's own independence and autonomy from government control. Secondly, the belief that the pursuit of truth and knowledge can and should be neutral and value-free. Before introducing and commitment needed if we are to free our country from oppression and exploitation. She has been detained, jailed, house arrested, banned, listed and shot at. And yet, she is with us tonight, still strong in commitment.
Thank you all very much. Now, I do hope, oh God, I do hope that you are going to be able to hear me, because I have a very nasty throat infection. And when I complained about it to somebody and said, my tongue feels too big for my mouth, you know what he said? He said, it's been like that for a long time. Anyway, I want to say first that I regard your invitation to me. Can you hear me? Is it all right? Can you hear? I regard your invitation to me to give this lecture as a very great honor indeed, especially when I look at the names of those who have given this lecture in the past, a very distinguished list, and I know that I don't belong there. And now that I have read several of their contributions, I am even more overwhelmed. Or rather, I was, until I came to Joan Lester, the British Labour MP. And then I realized that she had just stood up and talked to you like the girl next door. I met her when she was banned, 4 years on trial for high treason. What a reputation. It might well have daunted you, but it didn't. So here I am to say that I look on it as a good example of academic freedom. For it's now 23 years since this annual lecture was instituted, since the passing of the Extension of University Education Act. And you know, that was a very strange title when you think of the effect of the Act. And that was in 1950, to demand their rights. And history has shown us that. To move freely, to associate freely. We all, black and white, all of us who dare to dissent, we share these shackles, and we don't share much else. Sometimes I think it is only when you lose it that you know how precious freedom is. Perhaps that is, to some extent, what has happened to academic freedom. We talk and think about it now, especially on these occasions, and when it is in danger. It took 11 years for there to be an overt attack on academic freedom, and all to force apartheid on the universities by an act which made it unlawful for black students, few as they were, to be admitted to any but totally black universities or university colleges. So open universities became closed universities, and protest could not prevail against the apartheid leviathan, and academic freedom had been well and truly breached. No longer did any university have the right to decide who should be taught, and a part of academic freedom had been lost. That loss was very important, and ever since it's drawn a lot of attention, some of it very critical, uncovering different concepts of the university itself. It was a diploma, and I wanted to assure him that I wasn't planning to be ordained as a woman priest. And so I replied hastily, oh, nothing, it's an end in itself. You know, he was delighted, and he clapped his hands and exclaimed, that is the only way to approach knowledge. Well, I was impressed then, but today I think I should answer differently, because I believe that the pursuit of knowledge owes a duty to mankind, and it ought not to exist in isolation. Now more than 1,500, I believe. But they are not coming in freely. Each one comes in by ministerial permission. In fact, the minister decides who shall be taught. I know there are rumors of impending change, but this is the present position, and I find it a degrading position for university and for the students. Black admission has become a favor to be begged for, and it makes nonsense of any claim that all students are admitted on merit. For the minister, his academic qualifications on the voting paper omitted all reference to the high academic honors awarded him in other lands, despite his being a life political prisoner. He had an honorary doctorate from Lesotho. He had the freedom of the city of Glasgow, the Nero Award for International Understanding, life membership of London University were there, and others too. Were they too insignificant to be mentioned? That cannot be. Yet there was silence